me start here. People fall for Richmond fast, and honestly, I get why. The river, the food scene, the way a random Thursday can feel calmer and somehow better than a Saturday in a bigger city. A couple of days here is enough to convince people. They visit for a weekend, grab a beer, walk the river, take a photo on Belle Isle, feel that heavy Virginia summer air, and think, yeah, I could live here. And my answer is usually maybe. Because liking Richmond and living in Richmond are two very different experiences. I've watched people fall in love with a house here, full hard eyes. And then 6 months later, they're texting me saying, I don't know what it is, but my days feel off. Not bad, just off. Mornings feel rushed, afternoons drag, nights are quieter than expected, or louder. And it usually hits on a random Tuesday, stuck behind someone doing 15 on the Belle Isle Bridge when you're already running late. If you've ever thought, wait, would this actually work for my real life? That's a good question. That's the right question. So today we're walking through a real 24 hours in a Richmond neighborhood. No rankings, no hype, no highlight reel, just what mornings feel like, how afternoons actually flow, and what this place turns into once the sun goes down. I didn't always understand this, and that matters. I thought I knew Richmond. I knew the neighborhoods, the shortcuts, where to eat, where not to park. What I didn't understand was how my days actually felt here. Not the big moments, the ordinary ones. Those half-awake mornings juggling coffee, keys, backpacks, emails, the sun barely up, trash trucks rolling down the street, Carytown still quiet, just trying to get out the door without already feeling irritated. That's where Richmond either works for you or slowly starts to wear on you. This city teaches you through repetition, not all at once, through patterns, through routines, through how easy or frustrating it is to start your day. Once you notice that, you can't unsee it. So don't watch this like a tour. This isn't sightseeing. Think of it like borrowing someone else's routine for a day and seeing if it fits, because everything about living here comes down to one overlooked question. How does your morning actually go? Here's the truth people don't love hearing. If your mornings don't work in Richmond, the rest of the day won't make up for it. This is the rhythm-driven city. Your day either clicks into place early or it feels like you're catching up the whole time. Mornings are quiet, but they're not forgiving. Everything feels close until it isn't. Traffic isn't bad until it's very specifically annoying. On paper, the average commute here sits around a low 20-minute range. In real life, that number hides where the friction actually lives. I've seen this play out more times than I can count. One client moved here from a larger metro. Loved the house, loved the neighborhood, loved the idea of Richmond, but every morning felt rushed. Not chaotic, just uncomfortable. Too many turns, too many little delays, a school drop-off that looked simple on Google Maps, but felt stressful in real life. They'd be sitting at that light right after crossing Powhite Parkway, the one that always backs up more than you expect. Blinker on, kid in the back asking if they're late. Coffee already lukewarm in the cup holder. And it wasn't Richmond. It was the fit. Once they adjusted where they lived based on their actual morning routine, everything changed. Same city, completely different experience because Richmond rewards alignment. When your mornings line up with where you live, the city feels easier. You grab coffee without thinking about it. You move with traffic instead of fighting it. You're not stressed before you've even opened your inbox. But when they don't line up, that friction leaks into everything else. That's why I always say, don't choose a house first. Choose your morning, then work backwards. This is exactly what we help people do every day. I help them stop guessing and start choosing areas that actually fit their real routines, not just what looks good online. If you're thinking about moving to Richmond, relocating here, or just trying to figure out what would actually work for your lifestyle, reach out, call, text, or email, or grab a time on my calendar. Everything's below. I'll give you the honest version, what works, what doesn't, and where people really miscalculate. This is where Richmond catches people off guard. Afternoons here aren't dead space. They're not just something you survive between meetings. The city wakes back up after lunch. Emails slow down, the pace softens, you stop rushing and start choosing to step outside, choosing to reset, choosing to enjoy where you are. This is the part most people skip when they talk about Richmond. They sell the weekend, the restaurants, the vibe, but the lifestyle actually lives in the middle of the day. You hear it before you see it. Fewer horns, more footsteps, dogs being walked, bikes rolling by, someone clearly not in a hurry. Think Carytown around 3:30. Or people sitting on the BMFA lawn on a random weekday, not as an event, just because it fits. This city gives you time back in the middle of the day. Most daily trips are short. Most errands don't turn into productions. You're not burning an hour, just getting from one thing to the next. That's why hybrid and remote workers often end up loving Richmond more than they expected. The city doesn't demand constant attention. It just meets you where you are. Quick check-in. Be honest. Are you more of an afternoon walk person, an afternoon coffee person, or an I need to get outside or I'll lose it person? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. Because this part of the day also trains your eye. You start noticing which streets feel alive at 3:30, which neighborhoods feel calm in daylight, but shift once the sun starts dropping. And that transition matters. Evenings in Richmond don't announce themselves. They build naturally. This isn't a city that requires reservations, outfits, or a full production just to leave the house. One text turns into two. A quick stop becomes a couple of hours. Nobody's rushing. Nobody's performing. As the light drops, the air cools. Windows go up. Music drifts out. Conversations get louder, but not chaotic. People aren't trying to be seen. They're just out. This is where Richmond separates itself from bigger cities. Social life here isn't about chasing the best thing happening tonight. It's about landing somewhere comfortable and letting the night unfold. Breweries feel like neighborhood living rooms. Restaurants start to feel familiar fast. I hear this a lot from people who've been here a few months. They'll say, we keep ending up at the same two places during the week. And somehow that turns into our social life. Same bartender, same faces, no planning. That's how evenings work here. Most social activities wrap earlier than people expect. Not because there's nothing to do, but because evenings are woven into daily life instead of treated like events. You can be out until 10, feel like you've lived a full night, or you can stay longer and let it stretch. Either way, it never feels forced. Midday is the proof, not Instagram proof. Tuesday at 12:47 proof. This is when you find out whether the lifestyle you imagine actually holds up when nothing special is happening. And in Richmond, it usually does. This city is built around short loops, not long hauls. Commutes stay reasonable. Most daily movement is local and repeatable. That changes everything. Lunch doesn't feel rushed. Errands don't feel like a second job. You can step out, clear your head, and be back without blocking off your afternoon. People relocating from larger metros are always waiting for the catch. Instead, they realize they're getting usable hours back. Less friction, less mental overload. Life feels stacked in their favor, not because it's perfect, but because fewer obstacles are getting in the way. You're not sprinting, you're not stalled, you're moving at a human pace, and that compounds quickly. Nighttime in Richmond doesn't try to impress you. It lets you settle. Streets thin out, porch lights come on, you hear fewer cars and more footsteps. This is where people either lean in or quietly realize it's not for them. Richmond nights are calm, not chaotic. Familiar, not empty. You're walking streets you already know, sitting in places you've been before, Libby Hill after dinner, a quiet block and the fan, nothing flashy, and that's exactly the point. One client told me the biggest surprise wasn't the food or the neighborhoods. It was how early their house got quiet at night. They said, I didn't realize how much that mattered until I started sleeping better. That's not about nightlife. That's about nervous systems. This is also when you notice whether the quiet feels peaceful or uncomfortable for you personally. And Richmond shows its hand here. This is where everything comes together, not the weekend version, the full one. Morning rhythm, midday flow, afternoons that don't drain you, evenings that don't require effort, nights that let you breathe. The question stops being, is Richmond cool? It becomes, could this be my real life? because plenty of places are fun to visit, fewer easy to live in. Richmond doesn't eliminate stress, but it doesn't stack it unnecessarily either. People who get it tend to stay longer than they planned, not because they're stuck, but because life quietly works. Nothing feels rushed, and that changes everything. Here's the real takeaway. Richmond doesn't win you over with one big moment. It earns you slowly in mornings that don't feel rushed, and afternoons that actually fit between meetings, and evenings that feel social without pressure, in nights that help you wind down instead of wire up. I've watched people realize that they weren't chasing a house or a neighborhood. They were chasing a better daily rhythm. And once they found it, they stopped looking. If you've been nodding along, that's usually your signal. Not that Richmond is perfect, but that it might fit you. And fit will always matter more than flash. If you want to go deeper, check out the playlist where I break down community by community and lifestyle by lifestyle. It's built to help you figure out where your version of this city actually lives.